I have a QuanSheng UV-K5. Let's test it and modify it for full HF reception. I start with measuring the harmonics. The K5 is connected via a 40 dB attenuator to the spectrum analyzer. And there are the 4 harmonics. I have made a printout. Let's have a look in more detail. As you can see in the table, the first harmonic shown is the carrier, which is 35.49 dBm, which corresponds with 2.8 watt. In the Etsy you can find the maximum spurious for the other harmonics, which is minus 70 dBc, or the formula, whichever is higher. So the maximum spurious is either minus 35.51 dBm or 43.4 dBm when the formula is used. In this case, the minus 43.4 dBm is leading, so the maximum level for the other harmonics, the second, third and fourth, is minus 43.4 dBm. And as you can see, they are all about 20 dBm higher, and for 70 centimeters the spurious is even worse. This handheld does not meet the regulations and should not be used for transmitting. But this doesn't mean that you can't do funny things with this handheld. Let's open this K5 and build in the HF receiver update. You don't even need a screwdriver to get access to the PCB. Don't forget to put this piece of plastic back when you put it back together again. To get this front out of the way, I desolder the speaker wires. Because you need the space, the LED has to be removed. I will replace it with an SMD type. I think it's more elegant to remove the PCB from the metal case to have a better access to the components. Just remove the lug nuts and the screws. Be aware that one screw is under the LCD screen. This LCD is clicked in the PCB with 2 plastic clips. And when all the screws are removed, you can pull the PCB off the metal case. Before I remove the LED, I check where the anode and cathode should be. Yeah, cathode left, anode right. I removed the LED with the soldering iron, but I can't get a good grip on the round LED to pull it out of the PCB. So this is better. I select a 1206 size SMD white LED. It fits perfectly. Suction on some flux, the LED in the right direction, look at the green dot at the top right, there is a marking at the back also, and I'm using my soldering tweezers to fit the LED. Now the LED is fitted, some necessary cleaning with IPA to remove the flux residue. I want to test the LED before I continue. Later on I have to update the firmware, and this LED is a visual indicator that the K5 is in DFU mode and shows that the firmware is loading. I solder 2 wires to the PCB so I can connect the handheld to my bench power supply. And the SMD LED is doing its job and working fine. To fit the SMA connector for the HF antenna, I drilled out the place where the LED was fitted. I used a 6.5mm drill. Do it carefully, don't damage the front panel. I used the version 5 SI4732 update module, and it has to be fitted at the location of the FM broadband chip. It is the chip right above the keypad as I show you here. En daar gaan we een dubbelzijdig plakband voor gebruiken. I use some two-sided tape to keep it in place, but before I can fit the flex PCB I have to remove the FM broadband chip first. To remove the FM broadband chip, I use a low melt solder to lower the melting temperature. In this way I can use a lower temperature on the hot air station. Now the chip is removed, I have to do some cleaning up to remove the old solder from the PCB, and especially the low melt solder. I use some flux and a solder wick to do this. And again the necessary cleanup. Now the FM broadband chip is removed, I can place the version 5.0 HF receiver update. First I connect the ground. That is done, and I move to the 8 connections where the FM broadband chip was located previously. Assumption is the mother of you know who. I'll check if all connections are made correctly before I continue. Nice, they are all okay. I have to make a jumper from this pad to the left side of this resistor. Another jumper has to be made from this pad, shorting this capacitor and connect it to this capacitor. Make sure you use flux, because without it it's almost impossible to do. At this point I want to know if the update board is working. To do that I need to load new firmware, QuanSheng HF first. I first downloaded the firmware file, link in the comment. To load it on the K5 I use the online program used for Egzummer. Just select the local file, set the K5 in DFU mode and press Flash firmware. Now you see why I wanted the SMD white LED. Now you have some visual indication that the firmware load is in progress. And success! To save some space I cut off the ground pins from the SMA connector and I shorten the center pin. I attached the supplied coax cable to the SMA connector before I installed the SMA connector in the case. Of ze allemaal dezelfde kant op wijzen. Now this is all done, I want to change the white LEDs to the same color as the front panel, which is red. Before I remove the white LEDs, I check the polarity. Beware, all the LEDs are in the same direction, except one, this one. I have to select the right size of the LEDs. It is 1805. Yep, 0805. I am using my microscope. Look how tiny 0805 SMDs are. I removed the LEDs with my hot tweezers. I only show you one LED change. Look at the green marking, which is the cathode of the LED. Let's see if they are all working. Die is andersom. All done. Now all the work is done, I only have to put the K5 together again. You have to guide the cable, there's only a little space left. Yes, I forgot the lock nut, so I have to do it again. And the last thing is close the case.